Alright, hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome back. We're going to be redoing my custom weapons tutorial. Once again, there's been some slight changes to the process and a lot of things made easier, and now keychain physics are possible. So I decided to just remake the whole video because I feel like it's better to have everything all in the same video, just one video. Makes it easier for everyone. Alright, so basically to start just like before, we're going to start in Blender. So you're going to want to find the which weapon you want to replace. So you need to find first of all, find the ID of it, which is going to be in the openkh.dev website. Ignore this, I was searching for something earlier, but then you're going to want to go down to the weapons section and find the weapon that you're going to replace. In my case, I'm just going to do Kingdom Key. Sora's Kingdom Key, to be specific. If you want to know how all of these like naming conventions work, go into the OpenKH Discord, go to KH Resources. Nokuto posted this, which is a really nice breakdown of how the naming conventions for a lot of the files in Kingdom Hearts 3 work. And this includes the weapons. So, in this case, Sora's are going to be WSO and then a number code. Kingdom Keys is his first one, so it's WSO010. So we're then going to want to get that model from the, the game files. So you're going to want to download in the OpenKH Discord resources channel. Go up to Blaster Grimm's message here. He made a custom version of UModel. You want to download that. Put that, put that in a folder, and then basically you could use the normal version of UModel, but I would recommend using this version because you can do basically, let me launch it. There's this use KH3 path, and just that uses your path to install directory for KH3 and automatically puts the AES key in it. So it's just really quick. So before you launch it, once you download it, you need to go into the umodel.cfg file. I would recommend using Notepad++. I'll put a link for that in the description. And go into there, and you're going to want to, in this Kingdom Hearts 3 section, change the path to your install directory for Kingdom Hearts 3 and change the AES key to the AES key, which is going to be, again, in the OpenKH Discord and the KH3 modding channel. Go all the way down on the pins, this message here from Normie. All right. And then we're going to go into UModel. So now that you have launched UModel, we are now into the game's files. To get the model of your weapon, you're going to want to go into Character, go into Wep, go to your weapon ID name, which in this case WSO010, model, or in the model folder, and then click on WSO010 underscore 0 as UAsset. Don't worry about the skeleton, bone, and physics, and then click Export. And then click OK. No, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to close that. Alright, so now we have that weapon exported. So for Blender, before you get Blender, you do need a specific version of Blender. You need version 2.93. I'll put a link for that in the description. This is because we're using a new plugin that we did not use previously in my previous tutorial that specifically needs this version of Blender. It does not work for the newer versions of Blender. So I'll put the link to that Blender version in the description. And then there are three plugins you're going to need to download. So let me quickly pull up there was another tutorial that used these. Let me quickly pull these up, and I will include the links in the description as well. It is going to be, where is it? Oh, I went too far up. Okay. Oh no, it's in modding tutorials. Whoops. And it's going to be there it is. Okay, so I'm going to include these links in the description. I just forgot to pull them up. So you need the Blender 3D Import PSK PSA add-on. I'll open that one. You need the EAS export tools, and you need this IOScene XBF. I am going to be including this in my tutorial files folder right here. So to install these, basically, so this is the Blender PSK add-on. Go to the releases, download the .py, download that, and then in the EAS export, just do what is it? Do code download zip for that one. Then you're going to want to go into here, do into your search folder, enter %app data %. That'll bring you to your user roaming folder. Then you go into Blender Foundation, Blender 2.93, or let me just make sure I have the right one. Is it in roaming or is it in local? I'm just making sure here. Yeah, so yeah. So you're gonna go, yeah, app data roaming, Blender Foundation, Blender 2.93 scripts add-ons. And then you're gonna want to put your things in here. I'm sorry, I'm brain fart. You're gonna put your add-ons in here. Just to double check once again. Yeah, so it says export the zip file, put IOScene PY in the path. Users app data roaming, or your username app data roaming, Blender Foundation, Blender 2.93 scripts add-ons. Yep. And then so that's, you just put that in that folder. And then for the EAS one, or so in the add-ons folder, you can put the PSK PSA one. So you just put that one in this folder. For the EAS one, you can go into Blender, you can do file, import, or not import, sorry, edit, preferences, add-ons, click install, and then click on the zip for the EAS export plugin. And then click install add-on. So you would just download it. You could into your downloads, you go to your downloads, and then you click on it. I probably have it somewhere in here, but I'm not going to worry about it because I already have it installed. But you click on it and then click install add-on, and then you're good. And then once you have both of those in, make sure you search for it. So in this search for EAS, make sure it's checked. And then for the PSK one, again, do the same thing. Search for it, make sure it's checked. And then for these files, the IOScene FBX, you want to replace the base scripts for Blender in here. So to do that, you go into program files. So I'll do that. So you go into your program files, you go into Blender Foundation, Blender 2.93, Blender 2.93 scripts, add-ons, and then go to IOScene FBX, and then put these two, copy paste these two into this folder. I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again, but just paste them in here. Yeah, and then you will, just to note, you probably need to have Blender closed in this folder. I did not mean to close that there. Hang on. I did not mean to close that folder, but you probably need to have Blender closed before you put those into that folder and then launch Blender, just because in case it says, oh, you can't put it in there because the program's running. I don't know for sure, I haven't tried it, but just to be safe, I would say just have Blender closed before you put those two into that folder. And then we're ready to start. So I already have my model in Blender. I'm going to, or I have my custom model in Blender, so I'm going to file, import PSK. I'm going to go over to folder wherever you exported it, which I should say when you export, you can choose where you export it with this. I have multiple copies of this exported, so I'm just going to go to the quickest one I can get to, but then just import the PSK. Let me hide my custom model right now really quick. So we have Kingdom Key here. There we go. So what we're going to want to do is, it doesn't matter which order you import them in. So if you want to put the Kingdom Key in first, or whichever Keyblade you're replacing in first, and then your custom one, it doesn't really matter. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on, you're going to want to line it up with the one you're replacing. So I lined it up with Kingdom Key. If you're not importing a Keyblade and you're importing a different type of weapon, the side or the edge that is going to be hitting the enemies should be facing down here. Right? Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on my custom mesh. I'm going to press Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to press A to select all. And then press Tab again to go back into object mode. Click on Kingdom Key. Press Tab to go into edit mode. Hold down Alt and press A to deselect all the faces of Kingdom Key, or whichever base game Keyblade you are replacing. Then I'm going to click on my custom mesh, then hold Shift and click on Kingdom Key. So you should have both selected at this point in the base game Keyblade that you're replacing. So Kingdom Key in this case should have a lighter orange outline than your custom mesh. Then once it's like this, you hold down Control and press J. That'll join them together. You'll notice now it's just the skeleton for the base game and the mesh for the base game. You're going to press Tab to go into edit mode, and then you'll see your mesh has all the vertices selected, and the base game mesh has none of them selected. So you're going to want to hold down Control and press I to invert selection, then press X and then do faces. So now you have your mesh linked to the game's skeleton. So now we need to rig our model to the base game's skeleton so that it can do chain physics and animations and stuff properly. So we're going to I'm going to do the chain first because I think it's a little bit easier to do the chain first, and then just invert your selection of all the chains to assign the rest of the weapon to the web bone. But what I'm going to do is I have a chain set up here, so press Tab. Then I'm going to switch to face mode. It can be done either way, but I like it. It looks better when it's on face mode to me. So I'm just going to select one face there, then I'm going to hold Shift and select one face on each of these, then do Control L to select all of them. Depending on how your mesh is set up, it may or may not select all of the faces on that particular link. So basically just keep doing that same thing, select a face, Control L, till you have everything selected for every link in between the two chain bones. All right, so to note, these are these chain bones, these are the pivot points. So this right here is where it pivots and where it turns for chain physics. So that's where how you want to line it up for that. So I have these selected. This is chain 1, so I'm going to select chain 1 over here under object data properties, select chain 1 and click assign. Then I'm going to click deselect because I don't need those anymore. And then I'm going to do the same thing for chain 2. select chain 2, assign, deselect, and then chain 3, assign, deselect, chain 4, assign, deselect, and chain 5, assign, deselect, and then the charm in this case is just change 6, and then assign and deselect. To note, every Keyblade will have a different, or not, a lot of Keyblades have a different amount. Some of them have 5, some of them have 7. Most of them, I think, have 6. But you don't need to use all of them. And you'll notice there's 7 sticks here. You ignore the last one. No matter what, you don't use the last one. As you can see, since there's 7, but there's only 6 listed, it's because it only uses 6 of them. So there we go. And then just to give an example, so I'm doing a normal chain here, but you technically don't have to do a normal chain. If for example, your Keyblade's chain is a string, I will show you how that works, just to show you how to do that and make it look nice, because it's a little bit more complicated, because you don't want the string to be like super rigid when it's turning. So I just ignore that I separated that, and then I'm going to add mesh cylinder. This isn't really a 3D modeling tutorial, so I'm gonna just kind of speed through this a little tiny bit, just to be just so I don't take up too much time on this. Okay, so how I would set this up is you have your thing here, so I have it lined up, and I would then take that face, drag it till it is pivoted on that point there. Or actually, I'll just do, because if you have a model already made, I just drag it all the way to the end. And then I would grab the loop cut tool, which basically just makes me make a cut all the way around an object. And then I would grab it here, and I would left click and hold and drag it along till it is all lined up with the bone I want it to be. So in that case, that's lined up with bone 2. Do the same thing for bone 3 and 4 and 5. So now those are all lined up. Roughly, you can get more exact with it. It doesn't really matter. But now what I'm going to do is go into go and join it with the rest of my mesh, so I can start assigning it. And then I would do the same exact thing as I did with the other chains. So I would select the faces that for chain 1, and then assign it to chain 1, and then same thing for chain 2, chain 3, chain 4, and chain 5. So let me turn off that. And then, as it is right now, the pivoting of it will not be smooth, so we need to add more loop cuts. So I would just click in between, and then I would go down here and increase them. So I'll just increase it to like 10 on each of them. Oh, oops. That's just kind of an arbitrary number. You can do however many you want, but note that the more you do will make more faces, and you generally do not want to get too many faces on your model, because the game has to render each and every individual face. That's how it renders 3D models, and the more there are, the laggier it can be. But you don't want to get too worried about it. as long as you don't get like really minuscule, you should be fine. And then I'll just show you an example of why you might want to do this if your quote unquote chain is more of a string. So I'm just going to pose it just to show you. You notice when I start turning it, the turning is very smooth, which is really nice. So yeah. So that is how you do a string. Now I'm just going to go back to a normal chain because that's how I just made this model. But you can do either way, and that's the only difference in the process is how you subdivide it and that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of, whoops. Just going to get rid of that, and then I'm going to bring back that and put it back on my mesh. There we go. So now you can just double check all of your chain bones, make sure everything is correct. And then so I'm going to select all of the chains. All of them are assigned properly. Then I'm going to hold Control and do I again. So that'll inroute the selection from all of my chain bones selected to the rest of the Keyblade. Then you're going to want to assign that to the WEP bone. Deselect, and then there we go. Everything's rigged properly. So if you watch my previous tutorials, you will know that before in those versions, and you probably noticed earlier when I imported the Kingdom Key, I didn't scale it up. You don't need to do that anymore. And now that we are brain fart, sorry. And now that we're like almost ready to export, you know, before in the previous version, I would rotate the model. I would rotate the mesh and then rotate the skeleton. Again, we don't need to do that anymore. With this Giaz export plugin we installed, we don't need to do that. So what you're going to want to do is make sure I already have a texture for this, which I didn't put on, but I can put that on right now. Do key text. So you can just see it's just, oh, and then you see I assigned my texture, but it's not UV'd properly because it's using the base game's UV maps. So you want to just delete the base game UV maps, and then you'll see now my texture loads properly. And now we are completely ready to export. So the way this Giaz export plugin works is it requires you to have saved your saved a Blender file. So I'm just going to save as in this folder as that. You can name it whatever. I did record this before, but I felt like it was rushing, so I'm re-recording it. But so now we are ready to export. In order to export, we're not going to do file export anymore. For Giaz export plugin, it has it under this scene properties thing. You're going to want to scroll down, make sure you have the skeleton selected. So that'll be this thing here, and only the little bones will be orange. Then you're going to right click it, ID data, rename, and then delete the .ao, but leave it as the code of the weapon you are replacing. Also to note, I forgot to say, but if your chain doesn't line up, you can use the skeleton of a different Keyblade. So for example, Shooting Stars Keychain starts way further to the left than Kingdom Keys or any other Keyblades. So you can like experiment with the different skeletons. It's up to you. But when you're exporting, you want to make sure this is named as the weapon ID that you are replacing. Then you're going to scroll down here. You're going to uncheck the two boxes that are checked here. Don't check anything else in this section. Primary bone axis, it says -Y. You're just going to change it to +Y. Then destination, don't need to change this, just do path. Select the folder. If you saved your file before this, it'll be in the saved file folder, so I just click accept because I want it in the same folder. And then under here, don't change this. Uncheck those three boxes and check pack objects, and then click export. Now to note, if you get an export that says an error rather that says quads/ngons found, just click on your mesh, press tab, press A, and then hold control and do T. This triangulates the faces, so it makes all of the square rectangle faces into triangles, and that's just what this export plugin wants and how it works for KH3. But then again, when you're exporting, make sure you have the skeleton selected. And then you can export. I just did it again, but yeah. So that is the Blender step done. All right, so now with the Blender step done, we are on to the Unreal Engine step. Now, to note, if you've watched my previous versions of this tutorial, we use a custom engine build to do this. Now, to note, we still are using a custom engine build, but we are using a different one, and it is very important to switch to this new one because it makes keychain physics infinitely easier than they were before. So to get this custom engine build, you're going to go into, again, Open Gauge, Gauge Resources, and then scroll up to where am I? Oh, I'm way too far up. Hang on, let me go to the bottom. Let me scroll up to Blaster Grimm's message here from April 20th. And go to his drive, and you can download a pre-compiled version of the new engine. If you know how to compile Unreal Engine, or if you are comfortable with that, you can do that. You're more than welcome to. But this is a pre-compiled version, and it should work. But yeah, so just download that, put it somewhere, and you can, once you get that, you can go into, so this is my install directory for it. You can go into engine, content, or sorry, not content, engine, binaries, Win64 or Win32 if you have a Win32-bit operating system, and then go to Unreal or UE4 editor, and this is how you launch the engine. Now, I made a shortcut in this folder here, just so it makes it, I don't have to go through all of the folders to launch it, so, but yeah. So that is the custom engine. You also need a custom Unreal Engine for project that is made to mimic a lot of or make a bunch of like mimic Kingdom Hearts 3's, some of Kingdom Hearts 3's classes, and make dummy classes so that you can use Kingdom Hearts 3's classes. But you're going to want to get that. It's called Trey's Game. This was made by Joseph and Russell. Awesome guys in the KH modding community have made so many things possible that would not be possible without them. So you're going to want to download it. If you have GitHub Desktop, you can download that. You just want to, or you can download a zip. You just want to put it into your Unreal Projects folder, which is in your documents. Now, for example, I'm just going to make, just to show you what you need to do with this, I already have my own copy of the project, and I have it loaded up. But I'm going to show you what you need to do, because there is something you need to do after putting it into your project folder here. You need to compile it, which it sounds scary, but it's really easy, and I'm going to show you how to do it without a problem. Let me just get my Trace game that I downloaded earlier right here. Then go into here, and then I'm just going to download everything from here and put it in there, or grab everything from here and put it in there. Let it do that. Actually, you don't need to put the get ignore in here. I don't know why I put it in there, but you don't need it. But so what you need to do when this starts, make a new folder called saved, and then go into the saved folder and make a new folder called logs. Just because what we're going to do next needs these two folders created and doesn't create them itself, so just make sure that's created. Go up to here where the tracegame.u project is, right click it, then do generate Visual Studio project files. It's going to ask which Unreal Engine version you have. You're going to want to select the custom build version that we have, that we just downloaded before. So that's this one in my case. It'll detect through your system where you have them installed, so you just select that one, and then click OK. This will take a second. Just let it do its thing. This is just creating the project files for Visual Studio. Which also, while it's doing that, before you do this, make sure you download Visual Studio. I will include a link for that in the description. You want to download either Visual Studio 2015 or Visual Studio 2017. Which to note, Blaster Grimm's precompiled version, he has two versions, one for Visual Studio 2015, one for Visual Studio 2017. So now that that is done, it has created these some more folders and this tracecam.sln. Once you have Visual Studio 2015 or 2017 installed, you're going to want to double click the .sln to open it. I have Visual Studio 2017. So just open it, let it load up. Give it just a second. So Visual Studio is a programming IDE, so you need it in order to build Tracecam so that some of the stuff in there will work properly. But it's not that difficult, believe me. It's you don't need to actually do anything. So once you have it load up, you'll see your layout might be different than mine, but you'll find when you're going to want to find your Solution Explorer panel. Under Games, there's Tracecam. Right click it, click Build. Yeah, just click Build, and then down here in the output, it'll do this thing. Just let it do its thing. Let it go through the whole process. At the end, it'll say like 2 succeeded, whatever, 2 succeeded, 2 up to date, or something like that. But yeah, just let it do its thing. This will take a little bit. I don't know exactly. I didn't time it when I did it, and it will be faster or slower depending on your system specs. But I'm just gonna cancel because I don't need to build it because I already have my own copy. But let it do its thing. Let it build, and then once it's done, you launch the custom UE4. If as long as it is in your Documents Unreal Projects folder, you will be able to open the file, or you will be able to open the project, and then you'll be in Tracecam, which is the custom project that we need for Keychain physics specifically. So once you are in the project, we are pretty much ready to go. You're going to want to go to, you're going to want to right click, create new folder. You're going to recreate the file structure for the weapon that you extracted. So for our case, it's Kingdom Key. I'm going to scroll up just to see the file structure. Game and content are the same level, so you don't need to make a game folder. Just start at content and character. So I made a character folder, then I need to make a web folder, then I need to make a WSO010 folder, then a model folder. There we go. Then I'm going to import my custom mesh here. Let me find it really quick. Going to import this. And then do Control A, Control A, Control S to save everything. Now it did not import my texture properly, so I'm also going to import that. Actually, well, shoot, hang on. There's some settings you need to change when you import, so let me do that. When you import, these two should be checked. You're going to want to, you have to click the drop down here. Make sure all these same settings are checked, and then in normal import method, change it to import normals and tangents. Scroll down. Now, I believe Tracecam comes with a base M generic. Also in my tutorial files, I'm going to tutorial Trez. In my tutorial files folder, I'm including this maps folder. Just take this maps folder, copy it, and put it into your Unreal Project, your content folder. Just put it in here. This includes all of the generic materials which we need to use because we cannot do custom materials at this point. We have to use instances of the base game's materials, but I use the generic, which is the material for maps, so it does cause a small issue in which the Keyblade lingers for a second and then disappears, and it doesn't fade away properly when it despawns. If that's something you want to not have to worry about, Apro did this guide in the OpenCage Discord server. Just follow that. Really simple. Just requires one more tool, and then you can make it fade away properly with that. I just personally think generic looks better, so I'm still using that until we can do custom materials. So that's how I'm going to do it in this tutorial. So you're going to, in the import options under material, you're going to select generic and then change your base texture property to diffuse and then click import. So that will import all of your texture, or your model and a material, and your materials. And if you have them assigned properly, the texture as well. I guess I didn't for whatever reason, but it's not a huge deal. I'm just going to open the material and put my texture under the diffuse. And if you have a normal map, you can put that on. And if you have a triple mask, which do I have one in this folder? I don't. So I'm going to ignore the triple mask. But if you have a triple mask, you can do that. The triple mask is basically the metallic mask, the roughness mask, the ambient occlusion mask, and if you're using generic emissive, the emissive mask, all in the same image file. So the way it divides that up is the red channel is roughness, the green channel is ambient occlusion, the blue channel is metallic, and the alpha channel is emissive for generic emissive. If you don't know what all that is, or, you don't have to worry about it. And if you have black and white masks of all of those, you can use a program like GIMP to mash them all together into the different channels. But I'm not going to cover that in this tutorial because I'm just doing basic stuff for weapon mods. And just the base triple mask it has for generic will look pretty good. All right, so we have all that imported. I have my material there. I have the texture, and I have the mesh, skeleton, and physics asset. So to note, for Kingdom Keys specifically, you'll notice the physics is named differently, but if I go to like here, it has the 0 in physics and not physics asset. You're just going to want to rename your physics to be like your weapons is. So in Kingdom Keys case, it's just physics and not 0 physics. I misspelled that. Did I spell that right? Physics. Yeah, okay. Just making sure. Sorry. All right. But that's that for that. And like I said in the blender step, if you could use a different Keyblade skeleton, if you did that, for example, if you did if you used shooting stars, like I gave an example for, you just want to make a WS, the folder for that one. So WSO20 model. And then you're going to put the skeleton and physics asset into there. I'm just going to copy them, but you would want to move them and then rename them to be these for the shooting stars. But your mesh will already have them assigned to it. So if you take this and drag them and do move, it'll still have them assigned to it. So I'm just going to delete that because I'm not doing that. I don't need that. And delete. So yeah, that's that there. So to get the keychain physics to work, you need to go into the mesh, which is the one with the purple line on the bottom. I'm going to maximize this just to make it easier to see. You're going to scroll down to skeletal mesh. Under asset user data, you're going to press the plus once. You're going to change this to SQEX-KBD asset user data. This is why we need the Trace Game U project, because these are exclusive to the Trace Game U project. Do the drop down again. Under asset elements, you click plus one more time. it's gonna bring these up, and then under asset user data, you're gonna press +2 twice. Then you're gonna change the first one to Bonamic, and change the second one to KinderDriver. For weapons, you don't need to do anything else with the KinderDriver. If you're doing characters, there's more you need to do with KinderDriver, but DH has a Bonamic tutorial in the OpenCage Discord where he did characters. It uses a slightly older version, but you would do the same assigning to that as the as you would now. I'm going to bring this out because after we get down to, so you're going to, do the drop down on the Bonamic and do the drop down on that. Then on this very first one, press the plus. That's the only thing you need to do for, that's the only plus you need to add. You don't need to add anything else. Then in your content browser down here, just right click, go to physics, Bonamic asset. And this is why we need the custom engine and the TraceGameU project, because it lets us do this really quickly. So you're going to want to name it as the Bonamic file that is in the main game. So in this case, it's just WSO010 Bonamic. You can see what it is. It's going to be in the model folder. So like I said here, or here, most of them are just going to be the weapon code and then underscore Bonamic. You just want to double check them because some Bonamics can be spelled wrong or have a kind of like English thing going on. Like some of them has like a C instead of a K, so you just want to make sure in case there's any typos, because they're just wanting to reference the actual Bonamic from the game. But then we're done. That's Keychain physics ready to go. Just make sure you save your mesh and then close, and then we're good. The process is so much easier now than it was before. But basically, that's done for the actual weapon, but there's still a few things we need to do. If you watch my previous tutorials, you know what these are, and these have not changed at all. So if you have watched my previous tutorials, you really don't need to watch this next section, but for the people who have not watched my previous tutorials, this is what we need to do. So what I'm going to change is I'm going to change there's a model of the Keyblade that appears when you summon and desummon it. We're going to change that. We're going to change the hit particles. And then we are going to change the, we're going to change the UI images and then the name and description of the Keyblade. So to start, since I still have Blender open, and I'm just going to do the Keyblade summon effect model. So the way all of these works, you can just delete the skeleton. Then get rid of the chain. So I'm going to select the web, do Control I, and then XF, because all of the summon effect models are just the Keyblade without the chain. And then you just want to double check in go into UModel. You want to double check the orientation of it. So in UModel, go to Effects, Wep, your weapon code, model, and then in Kingdom Keys case, it's SMD SO01000. You can see there. So that's the file we want to do. And then, sorry, before I continue, if you're doing Oathkeeper in Oblivion, this applies to both this summon effect model and the base game. If you're doing Oathkeeper in Oblivion, if you're replacing Sora's copies of those model, they reference the skeleton, physics, and Bonamic, and summon effect, or like effect models, textures, whatever, of Roxas's. So if you're doing all that, you need to also replace Roxas's summon effect. You need to have so like how I was saying, if you used if you used Shooting Stars skeleton, you would put the skeleton in physics in Bonamic in Shooting Stars folder. If you're doing that with Roxas, or if you're doing that with Oathkeeper or Oblivion, you would put that in Roxas's folders for those weapons. And yeah, like I said, I didn't mention it when I was doing the Bonamic thing, but If you're using a different skeleton, you create the Bonamic and name it for the Keyblade that you're replacing. So, so back to this summon effect model. Again, we're gonna do this. We just have it. We already have it lined up properly. The only one I know of that is that's not it. Yeah, the only one that I know of off the top of my head. Which one is it? What's the weapon ID for Forever After 070? So the only one that I know is oriented different off the top of my head is Ever After. You'll notice that it's sideways like this for whatever reason. Most of them are the same orientation as you do for the actual like usable Keyblade, not the summon effect model. But yeah, this one it's already lined up properly. I just delete the chain and delete the skeleton, and then we can do file export FBX. Yeah, file export FBX, then do go back to your folder, name it properly. I've already exported them, but yeah, export. If you want to make sure, you can also export this one and make sure it's lined up properly, but you shouldn't need to. But yeah, and then we're also going to replace the hit stars. So in this case, it's just one for Kingdom Key. Some of them have two, some of them have three. They're all named slightly differently, but it's always going to be like SMD, IMD, KMD, something, and then the Keyblade name, and then star 1 for stars, or 00 for the key, or key 00 or something or other. You just look through them, you'll find it. It's not hard to find. But yeah, so in this case, I would say do export this. So just do that. I'm going to delete my Keyblade because I don't need it anymore. And I'm going to file import PSK. I'm going to go to the to the star. I'm going to import it just so we have it here, and then I'm going to file. I'm going to import my custom model. I've already made one, and I already have it named properly, but I'm going to show you. Again, for this case, I just did a circle, but you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to do the same thing as we did with the Keyblade. I'm going to select my custom one. I'm going to press Tab, press A to make sure everything's selected. I'm going to select the base game one, press Tab, do Alt A to make sure everything is deselected. And then back in object mode, we're going to click Mine, then the base games, do Control J, Tab, Control I, X, F. I don't think you strictly need to do this, but I like to do it because it keeps the name of it so that when I'm exporting, I can just see the name that I'm supposed to name it. I already have it, so I'm just going to do that again, but just export like that, and you're good. So back in Unreal, we're going to go to Content. We're going to create a new folder called Effects. You're going to, again, recreate your file structure. So I'm doing Kingdom Keys. So I'm doing Effects, Web, WSOLNO, and then Model, and then Import, and then I'm going to import both of these. Do that. It will import the materials and stuff as well. You can just delete those. You don't need them. So you just need the meshes because the like particle system set the color and stuff themselves. They don't strictly use materials, and if you put your own materials, it really won't work. You'd have to mess with the actual base game's materials, which I won't be covering in this video, but those are those in. Next, I'm going to do the UI images. You may have noticed when I was importing, I have those already made, but I'm going to go make UI, icon, item, and Keyblade. So item and Keyblade are in the same level, so it should go UI, then icon, and then in icon you make item and Keyblade. Go into UModel, go down to UI, icon, and then item and Keyblade, and you're just going to find which one you have. So I'd go into Keyblade because there's less here and you don't have to worry about the accessories and other items. So for Kingdom Key, it's just 01. For example, you just search for which one you want. So Keyblade is the Keyblade image that shows up in the Moogle Forge. Chain Top is the chain icon that shows up in the Moogle Forge. And then under item, it's going to be weapon. So weapon has one more leading 0 than the Keyblade folder, but weapon is going to be the same number. So for Kingdom Key, it was Keyblade 01. In item, it's weapon 001. So you just want to make your images named like that. So I've already done that. So I'm going to go into item and I'm going to do the weapon one first. So you can see I've already made my image. I've named it weapon 001. Import. I'm going to double click it to open it because there's some settings we want to change. You're going to click under MIPGen settings, change it to no MIP maps. And then under under texture, sRGB, uncheck it and then click save. Then that's done for the item folder. Go to the Keyblade folder and import the other two. And then once again, do the same setting changes for both of these. Make sure they are saved. And then we are completely done with the Unreal Engine step. So now we need to cook our files. To do that, you can do file cook content for Windows. I believe TraceGame has a few files in it that don't like to be cooked and will cause issues if you cook them. So it will cause the cook to fail. So what I like to do is I go into Edit, Project Settings, let it load up. You're going to go down to Packaging. For one, make sure you uncheck Use Pack File. Scroll down, click Cook Only Maps, and then under Additional Asset Directories to cook, press plus 3 times, and then using the dots, select the character, effects, and web folder, or your character effects and UI folders, just like this. And then you can do File, Cook Content for Windows. And then I'm going to let it cook. And then while it's cooking, I'm going to set up the name and description. So go to this website that we have in here. Do Choose Files. I already have it loaded up, but in my tutorial files, I'm going to include a localization folder. Go to localization, game, and then your language. So I'm just doing English. Go down to KH3 item. Click load, and then click edit. And then you're going to want to find which Keyblade you are using. So it's going to be the same number as the images were, except for Elemental Encoder. Elemental Encoder is the only one that is different here. The text, the localization key, and the image numbers are different. But in this case, hang on. Okay, sorry for the cut, but yeah, the number is going to be the same as the images except for Elemental Encoder, but in this case it's Kingdom Key, so I'm going to delete. Make sure you keep the file and name line. Delete the none. Scroll down till you get to the detail ones, the descriptions. It's going to be the same number as it is for the name in this file. Delete everything between the name and the description, and then delete everything after the description. So I'm going to name it like tutorial key, and then I'm going to change the description to like example description. To note, it can't be too long or else it will get cut off, and it'll cut off like the form changes one. But you can just do some trial and error for that. But once you've changed it, do import from text. This will change here to 02, or of how many lines you changed, or you have remaining rather. Click save. There will be a new one with your on it. Click the blue text, it'll download it. Show in folder, I'm going to copy. I'm going to then go to, excuse me, go to my Unreal project folder. I'll go to saved, cooked, Windows No Editor, tries game, content. And here I'm going to make a new folder, localization. And there I'm going to make a new folder, game. And then in there I'm going to make a new folder for my language, in this case English, so EN. It'll be the same code as when you imported. So I'm going to paste the lockers file in there. ID data rename. I'm going to change it to I'm going to change the name. Key name. Make sure you change the name to anything except a anything that is not an existing lockers file in that folder. So what I just do the the name underscore name, whatever. You can do whatever you want, as long as it's not overwriting any of the Kingdom Hearts 3 files. Then we're going to go up. Now, this is the, this is the cooked folder. Now, you're going to delete anything you do not need. So in this case, we do not need the editor, comment, or maps folder. Delete both of those. And then you're going to go into character, web, into your, and then you're going to want to delete the skeleton. So delete the skeleton physics asset and Bonamic. Just the skeleton physics asset and Bonamic. If you, again, if you used Shooting Star, for example, you just delete that folder because you're just replacing the mesh and you have your materials in here and textures and everything, so that's fine. And then make sure you don't have anything extra in your other folders, which I do not. So now we're going to go up one folder from here. Oh goodness, hang on. My character folder is named incorrectly. So if you have an issue like that, you just need to do this, fix it. I'm going to quickly just copy paste my my localization folder, because if you recook, it'll delete everything in your cooked folder. So I'm just going to copy it over there so I can copy paste it back in a second. But then I'm going to cook content again because I needed to rename the folder. So yeah, just make sure you don't have any typos, because if you have any typos, things will not work. So I'm glad I caught that. All right, now that that's cooked again, you'll know that good sound there, that sound there, that's a good sound. Back into content. What? Oh, I forgot to I forgot to adjust the folder that it's cooking. So yeah, there we go. That's again a little bit of trial and error, but stuff happened. Why is it in here? What the heck? That's weird. But yeah, there we go. Select. There we go. So yeah, that's why you want to just make sure everything's named properly, so you don't mess anything up like that. But yeah, that's just an example. Let me let it cook again. All right, let it cook. It should be done now. There we go. Okay, now again, I'm going to delete editor, comment, and maps. I am going to I'm going to copy over the localization folder. I'm going to go into character web, my model file. I'm going to delete all of the skeleton, physics, and Bonamic files. I'll go back up to content. So we should be here. Everything that we are not using is deleted. then and to note, we deleted the maps folder because we don't want to overwrite mgeneric. Mgeneric is in there. We don't want to overwrite that. We just want to reference it, so that's why we had it in Unreal, but we don't need it in our cooked files because we don't want to overwrite it. So now we're going to go up one more. I'm going to, in here, make a folder called Kingdom Hearts 3, like this, all caps, or Kingdom Hearts I, because Roman numerals. Drag the content folder into there. Then I'm going to make a new folder, and this is going to be the name of the pack file. So I'm just going to name it tutorial key. If you download a mod, a lot of mods, including a lot of mine, have pack chunk 99 dash at the beginning. That's just to ensure in case somebody puts it, does not have a mods folder, if they just put it in their packs folder, it's just to ensure that it loads after all of the game's files. So, but if you have a mods folder, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to do this. Okay, and then you're going to want to go into my tutorial files folder. I have Unreal Pack here. Is this the... Oh, I guess I'm including the U model into this folder. I forgot about that in there, but that's from Blastergram. But you're going to go into Unreal Pack. You have these. So there's two. So basically to do this, you just drag it onto Unreal Pack with compression, and that makes the pack. To make the process a little quicker though, what I did is I added it to my send to menu. As you can see, I have Unreal Pack compression here. To do that, you're going to want to go to your search bar, type run, enter, then enter in shell : send to, click OK. That'll put you to your send to folder. Get these, make a shortcut. You can leave it like that, or I just renamed it to be shorter to just be Unreal Pack compression, and then just put it into your send to folder, and then it will be in your send to menu, which is really nice. It's very useful, makes the process a lot quicker. It means you don't have to have another folder open. But yeah, so now I'll just do that again. Unreal Pack compression. Then I'm going to take my pack, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to go to my mods folder, and I'm going to put it in. And we're going to go into Kingdom Hearts 3 because we are done. Right. Right, I'm just going to continue my save. Ignore the KH4 title logo. I just made that after the KH4 trailer came out because, you know, I had to. Also ignore the Sword for Smash loading screens. Yeah, both of those are mods you can download on my Nexus page. We're going to load in game. I already have Kingdom Key equipped, so you can see. Here we are. We have my custom weapon in game. The keychain physics work. If we go into the menu, it has the name and description. If we go into the Moogle Forge, it has the icon and name, and you know, yeah. So yeah, that's how you do custom weapons in KH3. Now there's obviously more you can do. You can do sounds. You can do you can do sounds. That's one of the big things that a lot of people ask about. You can do that. You can do custom skeletons. So if for example, shut up, Donald. If for example you can't get your keychain to line up with any of the skeletons, you can do a custom skeleton. I'm going to be doing a separate video on that because I think it's one of those, just an extra thing in case you need it. But I'll link that in the description when I make it. But it's a really simple process. But yeah, So that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, or I would say preferably go into the OpenKH Discord server and ask there. There's a bunch of people in there that are more than willing to help, and you'll probably get an answer quicker than from my YouTube comments, and they'll be able to help more than YouTube comments. So yeah, but yeah, so hope you enjoy. I hope I was clear enough in this, but thanks for watching, and I will see y'all.